Okay, so we're back again then, Patrick. And so I'm just saying that I struggle with really believing, because that's all it is. It's only a belief system that this whole experience that we have in here has any benefit to us per se. I'm more inclined to think that it only has a benefit to consciousness as a whole. Like every single blade of grass. I mean, does the blade of grass experience the benefit of itself? Does a tree experience the benefit of itself? Does a sea urchin experience the benefit of itself? Why is it that we consider that we're over and above all these life forms when we're the same stuff? We're the same energy. We don't know that a sea urchin has any less consciousness than we do. It could be very, very conscious in its own little world, and yet we project onto it a much lower level of consciousness. And so really, I mean, all the things that we think about, they're all projections, I think, of the individual experience that, you see, if you have an experience that when you die, you go into the shiny black. Lots of people have spoken about going into the shiny black. Well, that's not very appealing to most people. But if you say when you die, you go towards the beautiful bright light and all the angels are singing, then of course that's more appealing. So therefore, one gains a greater footing in the human psyche than the other one, when they're both equally as important and real as far as real is, because they're both born out of the human psyche from a human psychical experience. But what we do is we manipulate and we take bits off this one and we stick bits off that on this one, and this is what we've done with religion. And so all you've got to do is to know the intricacies of the human psyche, is look at the stories we tell ourselves. We tell ourselves stories. Every single thing about our individual life is a story that we're telling ourselves. And if you was being watched, Patrick, say like for 5 years of your life, 24 hours a day, and somebody played this back to you, then you'd probably look at that and go, did I do that? Was that me? I didn't say that. No, this is wrong, because it would contravene the story that you're telling yourself, because we all think we're something when we're evidently not, because everybody else will say that, no, you're not like that, you're like this, and you're like that. Who's right? What is the reality?
Yeah, it's individual of each individual that creates individual understanding of whatever we're looking at. A very easy example to try to imagine is if I could give you my eyes for, let's say, 5 minutes, and you could give me yours, I'm sure that whatever you use to look at in your apartment will look very different using my eyes, because even though it would be the same, it will still be a couch and a chair and a kitchen, the colors, the structure, a lot of things will be perceived differently because the set of eyes would be not from you. So of course there is no one reality, like, we could take one thing and say this is how everyone perceives it, because everything that you perceive has to be perceived from a point of reference. If you look at a cube, you can look at it from very different angles, and it could look like different objects. When you can only see it at once, then you will realize it's a cube.
Yes, that's right.
Okay, Paul is back.
Hello.
Hi. So what I will mention to you guys, just in case you encounter this, I sent Paul the invite within a couple of seconds of sending it you. But what happens is when you send one, the second one doesn't go. And so I noticed on my send, it was still bright blue instead of going pale blue, indicating that it had been sent. And so it takes some time between the two invites. And so I was waiting. We've been online 5 minutes, Paul. And so
it comes straight through. As soon as it came looked up, I put it straight in.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying then. So therefore, you have to bear this in mind. If someone doesn't come through to you straight away, then just check that the email has been sent, because it evidently isn't sending.
Yeah.
We always do. We're just talking about how we perceive the nature of reality. And Patrick's saying, well, if we're in the same room, then we're not going to perceive the same reality. And of course we're not, because we have our programs, we have our biases, we have a different path which has led us there. And so it isn't the fact that we are standing in exactly the same place and therefore we should have the same perception, because perception doesn't work like that. Perception is entirely based on our previous experience. For instance, if you get somebody from the Amazon jungle and you take them to the Empire State Building and ask them to look over New York for the first time, and if you take a New Yorker up there and you go, okay, you two guys, you're both seeing the same thing then, look at that down there, look at this down there, they're going to be seeing the different stuff, aren't they? Because one of them is trained to see a certain something and the other one hasn't been trained at all to see any of that. And so therefore then the perception is absolutely going to be categorically
Well, like when we watched those videos about 6 months ago, like I'm on about the imagination again. There was one guy on the video that he could actually look at buildings and then he could go back and draw them.
Yeah.
He was like a young man. And then there was another one, he could see all mathematics in the air, didn't he?
Yeah.
In three-dimensional space. So it says that anything that's ever been and everything that will ever be has got to be here somewhere.
Yeah.
This is like you said about, like Patrick said about the Akashic records. So everything's there. It's just a case of it seems to me that we've been given everything to be put into our mind then to stop us to reach in that aspect of actually kind of tune into what is out there.
Let me add another perspective, because Doris Cannon, she touched on this with one of the links after the video you sent me, Patrick. Now, what she's saying in this is that we have the facility to be able to create absolutely everything we want to. Now, if we don't take full grasp of this facility with the realization that we are in actual fact a facet, a shard of God, if we don't do this, then what's going to happen is other people with a stronger perception and grasp on their own reality will be manipulating us, and we'll be following everybody else. And this is what's happened to the world, because we've had this this knowledge extracted from us and it's not been promoted to us. We're not given the opportunity to learn about it. There's only very few of us that do it. And when we do it, we look at this world and we go, hang on, this isn't the world that you're telling us all. Whereas the people in the street, they go, yes, it is. The world's round and God created it and it's 4,000 years old and all this sort of thing. And so it is all down to the individual to capitalize on this experience using all the tools that they can muster and to look absolutely critically.
It's all down to the strength and the level of your operating system.
It appears to be, and there's so many levels of this operating system, evidently, because we're at one, and there's other people, so-called down below, there's other people so-called up above. And if you asked yourself the question, we've asked it, Paul, we've said, how much more can these illuminated ones know than us? Because we know quite a lot of bit. Another paradox. Yeah, we know quite a lot about, seemingly we do, at least comparatively, we know a whole lot more than the vast majority of people around us, and yet we're still relatively powerless in real terms. And so what is it that gives them the edge? And this guy I was speaking to today, he says, well, these people, these Illuminati, they're all puppets. All it is, it's a hierarchical system of puppets upon puppets upon puppets, and the ones on the absolute top, nobody will ever see them. And so I can accept this, because when orders come down, say like in a police force, from the police chief, they come down to the sergeants and they go, it's orders. Nobody dares ask where the orders come from, because that's not the protocol. And the police chief maybe he just gets an anonymous phone call from somebody that he doesn't know. And if he does know them by a certain name, he doesn't know where it's coming from, but he knows enough to take fucking heed of whatever he's told. And so then he will pass it on. Who's passing down to him? How many tiers of this passing down of information?
Well, it's compartmentalisation.
Exactly. And it's just like in the FBI, CIA, any secret service, nobody knows where this information is derived from. All you're supposed to know is what you're supposed to carry out, and don't ask questions.
So this is a good segue to Patrick. Like, I was thinking the other day, I look back at old paintings, old oil paintings, right? And this will come back into your kind of virtual reality world we live in. And I can't think for the life of me of an old oil painting of dinosaur bones. Have you ever seen anything?
Or dinosaurs.
Or dinosaurs. Have you ever seen anything mentioned past like 100, 200 years ago? By seeing something like that, it'd be so amazing, wouldn't it?
Well, that's very curious, Paul. But there are dinosaur depictions in caves which go back thousands of years. And there are actually supposedly carvings of dinosaurs. And there's actually some sorts of cave carvings with human beings riding on the back of dinosaurs, if you look hard enough. And so... But you're right in that why is it that information from the human psyche hasn't been brought forward in the 15th, 16th, 17th and 18th century of drawing dinosaurs to hang on your wall?
Have you seen anything, Patrick? Think about it in France or something?
Sorry?
Have you seen anything in France depicting, kind of dinosaurs or anything like that from the 15th, 16th, 1700s?
No. That's also a known fact, which is a similar phenomenon as the UFOs. Is the whole dinosaur hunting and discovery indeed happened very late in human history, and it's like before that time, no one ever found a bone. Now it's the same with UFOs. UFOs were allegedly created by I don't remember the name of this author, but it was a science fiction author in the early 1900 who created the concept of flying saucers. And after he created it in a novel, then all of a sudden everyone started seeing those UFOs.
Well,
and it's the same.
Yeah, you carry on. Sorry, you carry on.
Yeah, and it's the same phenomenon. It's the same phenomenon with dinosaurs. Now, when I saw a video that said the dinosaurs never existed, I watched the evidence, and I went to search online myself into the various websites of these museums where you can see these dinosaurs, and they all admit that all the bones that they have displayed are actually reproductions of so-called original bones. There is not a single museum in the world that is actually showing you the real bones of what has been found. Now, when you start digging more, you will find that most of the dinosaurs that are on display were reconstructed after finding a couple of bones, and then they extrapolated the rest of the animals from those two bones.
Yeah.
It's only very recently that very conveniently that one organization, what are they called?
Paleontologists?
That there is one organization that gathers all the artifacts of the world,
right.
Which is part of the...
they're called the Illuminati.
Yeah, well, but
they hide them in the fucking vault of the Vatican.
Yeah, well, they're behind that institution, which is I can't recall the name right now, but anyways, as soon as you start looking into it, you also start realizing that it might just be a hoax. Yes, thank you, the Smithsonian Institute. That's the group. Now, the funny thing is, if you just try to apply logic and you look at the earth and you look at the size of the trees and of the bushes, do you imagine if the earth was inhabited with these giant monsters, how quickly they would have eaten all the trees and all the bushes, and how desert-like the earth would have become? Do you know how much, if you look at the discoveries and they tell you, oh, this dinosaur was eating 600 pounds of this and 2 tons of that. And I mean, if you start adding the tons of food that these animals needed on a daily basis, and then you multiply it by the hundreds of thousands of each species that was in existence, where the fuck did they get their food from? You know, the trees didn't grow faster in those days as they grow now. The bushes didn't grow faster. Where did they get the food? Doesn't make any sense.
None of it makes any sense, does it? It doesn't matter what avenue you look into, none of it makes sense. You see, when you've got these dinosaurs, they've also done tests due to the magnitude of them, due to the weight of them. When they do the science, they say that those bones could not sustain that weight.
No, it's true.
You know, they weigh, I don't know, 100 tons or something like this. And so 100 tons, and they're supposed to dwell in swamps. Well, you mean 100 tons, they'd never get out the freaking swamp. And so all this stuff, it doesn't make any sense, does it? And it's absolutely crazy.
It's like you said about the cave drawings. Who's to know how many of those was somebody go in a cave, go, we've got a cave here, let's draw some on this cave wall. We don't know whether they're true or not. You just don't know, do you? What you're looking at. We can only see the photograph or the photograph of the actual, you know, the actual drawing within the cave. Yeah. You just don't know what the hell is true out there and what's not, you know.
Are you guys familiar with Michael Cremo? You are, Paul?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so this guy is like, he's an archaeologist. What else is he, Paul?
Paleontologist.
Paleontologist, yeah, he's a few things. He does research about the history of the human being. And so he's heavily involved in archaeology and paleontology. And he's recited many occasions when renowned archaeologists have discovered stuff at a certain level, and it's been carbon tested to in excess of 200,000 years, and then they've gone on to like 1 million years, and then they end up in this sequence of portrayals that he had in some of his lectures, that it goes back even so that 20 million years. And he says there's evidence for human beings being around 20 million years. Now, one of the occasions was that they found mortise and pestle in absolutely solid rock. And this rock was dated like this 20 million years. And so with things like that, you could frown or be skeptical about some of this stuff, but there's so much of it. And also all these giant bones that have been found all around the world, which everything goes missing. And so at the end of the day, it seems that, you know, the concept, at least, of the human being has been around for millions of years. And so in that case, then, if they've been around millions of years, then you would have thought they would have been around with the dinosaurs also. And so hence the drawings of humans riding on the back of dinosaurs.
But it comes down to the fact that whatever you're looking at and whatever you put your eye upon, like you said, I mean, look at 9/11. You can go back to 9/11. And still numbers know the truth. So how can we go back millions of years? It's just, it's an impossibility. It's kind of, you put the greatest minds on earth at it, but you'll always come away with about 50 various answers and no truth. You know?
Or maybe 50 million. But you see, when you look at, say, like the Pentagon, for instance, and that hole in the Pentagon was supposed to be created by a Boeing 747. Even the most stupid of person flipping burgers in a burger joint would be able to look at that and go, that don't make sense. The windows on either side of the hole are still intact. When this plane's like 170 meters long, wide wingspan or something like this. And so when the vast majority of the human race are in negation about things which are so in your face, what hope have you got? Absolutely none, because they just cannot see. They don't have the wherewithal. So therefore, you have to reflect that, like Dolores Cannon says, she says, we're not all human. There's only a few of us that are human. All the rest of them, there's certain people that call them backfill. There's other one that call them backstage or something. You call them NPCs. I call them automata. Paul calls them husks. We've all got names for these creatures that we know are not human, because they can't be. And this is why I asked the question, what is it actually to be a human being? How do you define it?
Is it to be consciously aware? Is that what it is to be?
No, because, I mean, even the burger flipper is consciously aware. If you stick a pin in him, then it's like, you know, and so it's more than that. It seems that there's a spark that some of us have, and it's like Westworld, for instance. We're told in so many different. You see, there was. Who was it in recent time? I saw a video, I don't know whether you sent it to me, Paul, whereby this guy says they have created human-like beings which are indistinguishable already. And so then when you start listening to people like David Icke, who says that Ted Heath, his eyes used to close over like reptiles and go absolutely black. And he said he saw this with his own freaking eyes when he was speaking to him on one occasion. And there's so much of this stuff going on. It is absolutely wacky. It is wild beyond comprehension. And so what have we done? What sort of a crazy game have we invented for ourselves? Something to partake in, because maybe we are so genius, like consciousness is so genius, it gets tired of knowing everything and it wants to get into a position whereby it doesn't know anything. So therefore, it's got this facility of being able to wipe certain facets of its consciousness clear, and it puts them into realms, and it can experience, life via that without knowing the outcome of every single thing before it's happened. Or creating the illusion of time, because there is no time, is there? It's only illusion. And so
there is no time.
Yeah, so if you create the lineage of time, then you've got the illusion of life, and so you can partake.
Once you mention time to the human being, it's a trap. Simple as, you're trapped in.
You mentioned time, you mentioned language, you mentioned math, all these things, they trap the human psyche into parameters whereby you cannot get out of. Because if you experience astral projection or psychedelics or deep meditation, this, that, and the other, if you try to put them into language and convey them to somebody, you can't touch them, because those words cannot be received, because the energy that you are trying to transpose into words doesn't work. And Patrick, having had this DMT experience, if you try to transpose that energy that you experience into words, it cannot be done. So therefore, it seems to me that the language is a part of the prison. It's a part of the rule set, like you have in the prison. You can't do this and you can't do that, and you're going to get banged up at such and such a time, and did a time such and such a time. All these rules. Language seems to me to be a rule of this dimension, which is part of the prison, because it absolutely keeps you in the prison, because you can't express anything outside of language about the spiritual world, but nobody will believe you because they can't feel it.
Yeah, and can we say that we get onto you in a second? Sorry, Patrick, you're jumping in, but can we say that that an artist can actually represent what's behind the words indirectly? You can look at it and go.
I don't think there are any words, Paul, because Michelangelo and Beethoven, they never used words. They just create.
That's what I'm saying to you. That's what I mean. They create on a piece of canvas. It's always, you can't put it into words. It almost it's got its own eminence. It's resonating energy out of the actual. Painting. So I was going to ask Patrick, what's your thing on this Enki thing and this, that, and the other? Is it Enki?
Yeah, Enki, Anunnaki.
Yeah, Anunnaki, Enki, Enlil. Well, again, like everything, it's like on this earth, when you don't have a religion, you need to have another system in place, because not everyone is inclined to religion. So if you want to control everyone, you need to create more control systems. And with the it's funny that the Sumerian tablets have been discovered at a time period where we started exploring so-called space and imagining other civilizations. Science has never been able to find the missing link between the big apes and the actual human being. The narrative, Zecharia Sitchin, who was the guy who brought that story up as being the official translator of these tablets. If you look into the guy, he's a Freemason. The guy had tremendous financial help from the groups who are controlling us. So creating a new narrative There is, Agenda 21 that you've probably heard of, and Project Bluebeam, which are all concepts that are there to try to reshape. If they want to bring the new world order, they want one religion, one currency, one ruling system. Everything needs to be united. Now, the only way that you can unite, it's Ronald Reagan who said that in a speech when he was president, and he was already preparing us to that concept. He said, well, imagine if there would be a threat coming from space, then all humans on Earth would unite. He said it. I don't know if you ever heard that speech when Ronald Reagan said that. So basically the concept is they've been preparing us for an alien invasion, and the alien invasion, they cannot create an alien invasion like in the movies where the aliens come down and just want to kill us and have a technology that surpasses our technology. Now, if you bring down aliens that come representing Enki or Enlil, who were the creators of humankind, and they come in peace to see what their creation has become, then you create a scenario where whatever they're going to use with the Bluebeam project to project whatever they want to convince people about these aliens coming from space, they're probably going to come up and say, yeah, we saw the Tesla car of Elon Musk floating in space. That's why we came, because we want to buy one. So the Enki Enlil, I read all about it. The funny thing is, if you look at that story and then you go into the Isis Osiris, and if you look into other culture, you will see that it's always the same narrative. It's like a script inside that video game. Yes. It's a script that's being played over and over again.
But in their writings, they say that, like you're talking about, it says that he's holding mankind in like a vice-like grip of an illusion, because it's, again, like I said, very like kind of energy, like they're using us for energy purposes and stuff like that. If you look deeper into it, that's what he's saying. So it's almost like he's saying that he's trapping us in this dimension. I was looking at today.
Well, the Anunnaki is different. Is the story is that they came down from their planet and found our planet, and their planet had some atmospheric issue which could only be solved with gold powder, and so they came to us and they started digging for gold, but it was very difficult, which doesn't really make sense in the story, because you have the capacity of traveling million light years away to a distant planet, and then you don't have machines that can excavate the gold, and you need to transmute a local existing race of apes, blend it with your DNA, and create a new type of being that actually were designed to be slaves. And then they had an argument between each other, and then they all left.
But isn't this the whole...
Come on!
Isn't this the whole Enki and Enlil? Because they were the two brothers, or brother and sister, whatever, and they were the leaders of the Anunnaki, and they were the ones. One of them wanted to splice this creature that already existed, and another one didn't want to. And so again, what have you got? You've got the polar opposites. You've got the devil on one side. You've got God on the other side. You've always got the goodie and the baddie. And Enki, the baddie, he was a bit more powerful, and he manipulated the DNA, and he created these human beings and enslaved us, and that's how it's been ever since. I just think it's just so wild, but the whole universe is wild. I really think that if they want to tell us any story, then they can just say, look, you're in pure consciousness, and anything can be possible, so believe whatever you want to believe. At the end of the day, why invent all these ridiculous stories? I mean, at the end of the day, look, it seems to me that this guy said today, the super highest of the high, they're the ones that control the knowledge for everything. Where do you think all this information went from the burning of the library in Alexandria and all the rest of it? It's all hidden, you know, in places like the Vatican. And so they're keeping the information from us that they don't want us to know. And so if they have the facility and ability to be able to do that, then of course they have the facility and ability to let us see stuff that they don't mind us knowing. So therefore, they let us know about Adam and Eve, they let us know about the devil and God, they let us know about Enki and Enlil, they let us know about the Nephilim and all that sort of stuff, because it obviously it doesn't come into the ballpark. It isn't really what this thing is all about. What do you think about that? Because, you know, I just don't think we can...
well, again, you can go back 2,000 years, and the psychops was happening in psychological operations. It's been happening for thousands of years. They've used all sorts of variable aspects. It's like, you know, people don't even realise today that, you know, they're being controlled, like we said before. We won't go into this aspect, obviously, like I say about tablets and things like that. But years ago, you'd see people with their heads stuck in a fucking Bible, exactly the same. There's the same context, but you'll never... It's all to do with keeping us busy, but not looking at what the real picture is, isn't it? It's not focusing on the real aspects. Everything else is just a sideshow. We only see the sideshow, you see.
Yeah.
You know? And with Patrick, so did you find out what happened to that? You know that show you was watching?
Beyond the Veil.
Yeah, well, is he vanished then?
No. They went down to the guy does regular retreats for ayahuasca experiences in
right.
South America. So apparently, you saw on his last video that he made a couple of weeks back that he was gonna go to South America to do some ayahuasca experience, and he would be back.
I mean, what do you get? What do you get from his aura? I get from his aura kind of dark. Is something dark kind of emanating from him, you know. I like it the way he comes across, but I don't know. There's just something. I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on it. Do you know what you mean, Aaron? Do you know which guy I mean?
No.
What's the show?
It's called Beyond the Veil, and
Yeah.
he is actually half Native American.
He talks about.
He's half from one of those tribes, and he's a guy who's done many ayahuasca experiences, and he's gone into these different realms, and he's met with all these entities, and he came back with the idea that we live in a simulation, and he's very close to what I think about this world. Then he's got a show on his YouTube channel, which is running like 4 or 5 times a week. So it's like he's on Truth Frequency Radio and all these things. So he made a business out of it. You know, it's clear. And as soon as they start making a business out of it, what happens is that once you've seen, let's say, 10 episodes of his show, it's just repeating and looping again and again, just using different angles. But the message remains the same: is we live in a simulation. He believes in NPCs as well. And then his wife Cherie is very much into astrology, and so she incorporates a little bit of astrology in their radio show. So it's kind of a entertaining, interesting show with nice perspectives. But as I already told you, I don't watch The Messenger. I'm only interested in the message, and when the message starts repeating, I move on to something else. So I've stopped watching for a while because I don't think there is anything new coming from that aspect. And also his interpretation of this realm that he's experiencing, a lot of the things that he says don't resonate with me necessarily. So maybe that's the thing that's a bit off.
So Aaron, what do you think to this aspect of when people go into the DMT arena and they're seeing this black and white checkerboard when it's actually represented in the Freemasonic lodges? What do you think the connection there is between DMT and the actual Freemasonic lodges? What do you think? Do you reckon they've tapped into some dimension? Or what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it all pertains to alchemy and it pertains to symbolism. And so these people are for sure, they've been versed in psychedelics, and this is why they're so adamant that they're going to be controlling them, because they know that they enlighten people, and they know that they give people the capacity to be able to see this stuff. And so all of this stuff which is related to the Kabbalah and that, this, that, and the other, is all based on symbolism. And you say, well, where does this symbolism come from? Well, we know that a great deal of it comes out of the psychedelics, or it comes out of a very deep, profound meditation. And so they are keeping all these symbols from us, and they don't want us to go and see them for ourselves. And so it's very simple. You know, it's so simple, in fact, that the letters have all the stuff that is going to kill us, and they're so benevolent, and they really care for us. And this is why they don't want us to have psychedelics, because that might upset you a little bit, but they allow us to drink copious amounts, as much as we want. There's no law against however much you want to drink and however you want to do it. You can do it day in and day out, and people do, and then they kill themselves. There's no law against that. Why not? You got to ask yourself the question.
Well, look at the damage it does to the internal body. Then you go into hospital, you go into private care, and you know there's all this stuff being turned over, isn't there? As opposed to something like DMT or ayahuasca. But what, you know, it says to me that it's like on their emblem they've got the acacia tree on the actual Freemasonic thing.
Yeah.
So it's as if to say that they tapped into something many years ago, and I didn't know that. What was the Queen? Was it Queen Elizabeth, who to do with John Dee? You've heard of John Dee?
Yeah, Elizabeth first.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't realise until I've been looking at that Jason Louv guy. You know who we've been looking at.
Yeah.
If you look at his newest one, he's stating that when they actually was doing the actual Enochian magic, what they actually did was they sent everybody out to try and the what's it called? Oh bloody hell! The Empire. You know, they wanted to be the centre of the Empire. So what they was doing was, but it was all based upon magic. Even when they actually did the first voyages to America, it was all done on a magic circle and a circuit. So they used all the kind of alchemical processes to send the boat there at certain times, this, that, and the other. So they're saying even from the first embryonic stages of America, that's why you've got all these, the Pentagon and everything there, because it was originally stated that's what it was supposed to be about. It was supposed to be like a spiritual endeavour to kind of make the world one as the original one world order. She was supposed to be the centre of it.
Yeah, whether they were Illuminati or whether they were Masons, I mean, it's common knowledge that there's at least a third of them, the founding fathers, that were Masons, and so they're all steeped in symbolism and magic and all the rest of it. And so, yeah, the whole world is controlled under magic. You know, we speak about this quite a lot, don't we, Paul? We've got about 2 minutes left, and so we're going to wrap this one up. And I'm absolutely starving now, so I'm going to have something to eat. But we never actually concluded on the flat Earth. So very briefly, in about 30 seconds each, what can we say about that? Where do you stand? Does it mean anything to you?
I'll go then. To me, what I'm looking at is the case of, I think, as I've looked into it, apparently the first embryonic stages of it coming forward again was about 2011-12 on that site called Reddit. They started talking about it, and apparently a lot of the stuff originates from there. Then they post it further into the net, into the internet.
Well, what does it mean to you? What does
I'm going to tell you. It means to me, it's a psychological operation where you'll never. It's just a mind fuck. It's just going to spin your head round.
So what do you feel? Do you feel the world's round? Do you feel it's flat? Or
round.
You feel it's
round? Yeah, I've got to go with round. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you feel, Patrick?
No, for me, it's definitely not the proposed model. There is no ball hurling in space that holds water to its sides, that holds an atmosphere that doesn't go into the vacuum of space. I mean, we know from science that two different pressure systems, a positive, which is our atmosphere, and a negative pressure system, which is a vacuum of space, cannot coexist side by side without having some kind of a enclosed system or protection or a container. So a lot of the globe Earth mainstream science for me is just crap. Now, do I believe the Earth is flat? No, again, to me, the flat Earth was just my confirmation when I looked into it, and I started seeing that they were right on a lot of stuff, but also wrong on a lot of other stuff. So it led me to conclude that it must be a simulation where every model is possible depending on the observer.
Okay,
because
so
both Earthers will always find all the evidence that they need to confirm to themselves that it is round, and the flat Earthers have all the evidence that they need to prove that it's flat.
It's a confirmation bias then, isn't it? Look at, if you guys look in the internet, look under Poe's law. It's a new thing that's out called Poe. You know, Alan Edgar Poe.
Yeah, Alan Edgar Poe.
It's called Poe's law, and it's about this. What we're talking about. It's about how the internet constructs in our pathway visionary aspects that we can never answer. It's literally geared up. I mean, it's called. You've heard of Murphy's law. It's called Poe's law. So what do you reckon now? Got 3 minutes.
Well, yeah, we've got just 4 minutes. 4 minutes. And so I just want to give you like another minute for you to express. You see, what I wanted to know is how this documentary touched you. Now, if you look at it from a perfectly logical, rational way of looking at things, you cannot deny that water, by its very nature, will always settle to this flatness, because that's what it does. And so it seems to me that the water cannot fucking bend around a ball, and I don't give a fuck, because gravity is said to be the weakest force in the universe. It can't hold this mass of water. We're flying around at 63,000 miles an hour around the sun, apparently. We're spinning around at 1,000 miles an hour. And yet this water is sticking with the weakest force in the universe. That don't make sense. If you pour a cup of water, or you have a bowl, you have a swimming pool, you will see yourself, it's absolutely as flat as pancake, and you can put a spirit level on it. So how does your mind deal with that, Paul, when you see these tests being done with all these variety of sensible people? Are you in a denial about it? How does it work?
Because when I actually work up the underpinning, like Patrick says, I can't understand that this flat Earth, or whatever this is, it can't hold up. It's got less chance of holding up than the round ball. There's everything around me, other planets. So you look for a telescope. You looked at a telescope at the moon. Yeah, fair enough, it's sat in the sky. But you can look at aspects of other things, like planets that, are they computer generated? I don't know. But
okay, so what I derive from that then is that you throw out logic when you're applying your reasoning to it. And that's not a bad thing, because like I said, this world, in my estimation, isn't logical. But you see, if we're playing this game, then this game, the rules are that it's based on logic and it's based on math, which is undeniable. And so if you're going to be based with math and science and repetition of an experiment that comes up with the same thing all the time, every time you look at water, it's fucking flat. And so all of a sudden now they tell you a story that it sticks to this world under all these conditions. Well, I don't go with that. What I go with is that in view of the fact of what I've spoken about initially, I don't believe any of this has a reality outside of mind. And so the reason why we've got all these stories coming into play is because that's what we are. We are creators, and we're creating stories. We all create our individual stories. We create our collective stories. En masse, we create our world collective consciousness story. And so if things are promulgated like the world is flat, then more and more people that know about it, it comes into their consciousness and they create that. It's just like NPCs. It's like husks. It's like shapeshifters and all this sort of thing. This has only been around in recent times more and more prolifically. And what's happening? More and more people are talking about it. We're creating it. And so more and more people are going to be looking at the people in the street going, they're not real, they're not real, they're not real. We've got no idea whether they are real or not. But our mind now is gone into a different story, and we're telling ourselves that.
You get caught in the zeitgeist and the energy.
Yes.
See the wood for the trees. So, okay, are we all going?
Yeah, we're all done now. So great conversation again, guys. I look forward to the next one. See you.
Peace out. Speak to you in the week. Take care.
Bye. Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.